Hey folks, hello and welcome to the webinar. Let me know in the chat box if you can see me. I see Karen Thompson is here. She's a fiction author. Tammy is here, another fiction author. Tammy, my buddy. We have got Beth, fiction author. Karen, hi Karen. Michelle, fiction. Nancy from Tucson, Arizona, I believe Arizona is fiction. CJ, fiction. Laura, hey Laura, I know what type of writing you write. Karen is here from Oklahoma, fiction. Jennifer Stockdale from Pennsylvania, welcome Jennifer, fiction. Hey, Jennifer from Ottawa. Hi, Jennifer. Last name Desmarais. I'm sorry, I'm horrible at pronouncing French names, but hello. I'm so glad you could be here. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes here, guys. Just want to give everyone a chance to arrive. And please do let me know if you have any audio problems. As far as I can tell, I'm coming through clear so far, and hopefully that will continue throughout the presentation. We've got Crystal, fiction and nonfiction and memoir. All right, you're juggling a bunch of things. Kimberly, good evening, fiction writer. Okay, so everyone we've got so far is a fiction writer of some kind, and Crystal is balancing both. Tilia, fiction writer from Detroit. Susie from Chicagoland, nicely fiction writer. Okay, well, I was asking whether there was fiction or nonfiction because I thought there might be some fiction writer, nonfiction on here. Since this topic is more generalized than some of my other presentations, there's Jillian, and from Edmonton, writes fiction and nonfiction. Is that Jillian Davies? If it is, hello, Jillian. And Maya, fiction, Southern California. Angie from fiction. Lindsay, fiction as well. And guys, I will give you a heads up. There is unfortunately about a 30-second delay on the webinar presentation from when I say something till when you hear it. So if it feels like I'm a little delayed in acknowledging you or answering a question or something like that, just be aware that there is that 30-second delay in there. Unfortunately, it can make interaction with you guys a little bit difficult, but it just means sometimes I got to do a little bit of tap dancing if I ask you a question and I'm waiting for an answer. All right, Jillian says, yes, it is me, Kevin. Hope you're having a great week. Well, it's been a bit of a tough week for me, actually. If any of you guys are on my email list or read my blog, you know I've been working really, really hard this month, primarily leading up to tonight's presentation, which is why I'm so excited about it. But unfortunately, I worked myself into a severe sinus infection. So I was down and out for a couple weeks, or so a couple days, and now I'm on antibiotics and all that. But Jillian, I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you. You were one of the folks who took advantage of my Black Friday offer. A special package of training I put together on Black Friday, and all of the proceeds from that went to Mediviver, a oh no, yeah, got a little sick. It's okay. But all of the money from the sales from my Black Friday special went to Mediviver, a charity for breast cancer, people battling stage 4 breast cancer. And breast cancer is a topic really, really close to my heart. And so I thank you, Jillian, and anyone else who's on this presentation who happened to be part of purchasing that package. It felt really, really good to be able to make a donation to Mediviver with your guys' help. So I thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, with all that said, it's about 5 minutes after now. Let's see how many people we've got on here. So we got about 45 people. That seems about right. So I am going to get started on the presentation. Oh, Maya said, how generous of you. Well, Maya really wasn't generous of me. It was, you know, all the people who purchased the package. It was their money that I was able to donate. So, you know, it's my audience who were really the generous ones in making that purchase. And yeah, felt good. Always feels good to help people, which is actually kind of funny. You know, we're on a oh my goodness. Oh, Jillian's mom passed away from cancer. Yes, it would be great if we could get rid of cancer. And it's funny, I was going to say that we're starting a presentation about marketing, which people generally think of as this kind of evil, soulless thing. And we're talking about marketing and charity and how I marketed that package and it allowed us to help a charity. So I think that's a theme that's going to come up throughout the presentation today. Is hopefully you're going to leave this presentation with a slightly different feeling or hopefully a different vibe when it comes to marketing. So I want to dive into the presentation now, guys, and let's get started. Thank you so much for joining me on the webinar today. You made an awesome choice to attend the presentation. We're going to have a really exciting time. I've actually been working really hard on this presentation and I'm really excited about it. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy it and that hopefully you're going to get some really enlightening information. I think it's not going to be quite what you expected, but hopefully it's going to be even better. All right. And please do go ahead and ask questions throughout the presentation. That said, while I have the slides up, it can be a little distracting for me to jump back and forth between the chat box and the slides. So I will focus primarily on the slides throughout the presentation. But at the end of the presentation, I will hop on camera and I'll answer every single question. I never let a question go unanswered. So you can either throw it in the chat box when it seems appropriate or wait until the end and then we'll tackle it then. Okay, and this is me. Some of you guys know me, some of you don't. My name's Kevin Johns. I'm a writing coach. I work one-on-one with authors from all around the world to help them get their ideas out of their heads onto the page and into readers' hands as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And in addition to being a coach, I'm also an author myself. I have a book called Smash Fear and Write Like a Pro, another book called The Novel Writer's Blueprint. I have a young adult horror novel called The Page Turners and its sequel, The Page Turners Economy of Fear. And I also recently released my first children's picture book, Rocket Princess versus Snaggletooth the Dragon. I have an online course called Smash Fear and Write Like a Pro. I offered you guys a special deal on that when you signed up for the webinar. So some of you took me up on that. You're in that course already. I also have a course called The Novel Writer's Blueprint. This is a masterclass that takes writers all the way from initial idea creation right through to completed manuscript. I host a webinar called The Writing Coach, where I interview other writing coaches, as well as editors, marketing experts, and other folks who work with writers to help them excel in their careers and be the best writers they can be. I also host a weekly podcast called Write Along Radio with my co-host, author Catherine Brunel, and we kind of cover all sorts of things on that show. Anything writing related, we've probably covered it. We've been on for a few years now. I also often moderate panels at conventions and at book events. And I'm a ghostwriter. So in addition to those 5 books I mentioned earlier, I have also published several other books that have gone out under other people's names. That's another business of mine. But today, I'm here to talk to you in my capacity as a writing coach, as an instructor who helps writers to excel. And I think one of the reasons I'm really excited about this presentation is that generally I'm talking with writers about the crafting of their book and getting it created. But today we're going to talk about what do you do once that book is created or near creation and you're launching it? How do you get that book into readers' hands? And so this is a new topic for me in terms of presentations. I'm really excited about it. Now, while we're talking marketing, there's a concept in marketing called open loops. And what an open loop is that during the opening of a presentation or a speech or an email or a sales page, you ask a question or you suggest something that's going to be resolved at the end of the presentation. That's a way of keeping people interested and reading all the way through whatever it is you want them to read through. So here is my open loop for you guys. For those of you who don't know, this is the 5th webinar I've hosted in 5 weeks. So throughout January, every single week, I've hosted a webinar. And I knew I was going to be doing that, so I decided to grow my beard out throughout the entire time. So as you can see, on January 1st, I hosted How to Find the Time to Write. And we had just the beginnings here, the beginnings of the beard. And then the next week, I hosted How to Write a Book in 30 Days or Less. And you can see that it's still a little patchy, starting to come in there. The next week, I hosted How to Get Your Book Edited for Practically Free. And I'm pretty pleased with how the beard was starting to look by that point. I feel like it was really starting to come in. And then last week, I hosted 8 Techniques for Better Dialogue. And I think I'm proud to say that's a pretty solid beard I had a week ago for that presentation. So here's your open loop, guys. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to hop on camera and you'll get to see how 5 weeks of beard growth looks. All right, enough silliness, enough of that, right? You guys are here to learn about social media. So let's get into that. We're going to look at how you can use social media to build an audience and sell more books. Now, this is an extremely complex topic, very, very complex. So what we're going to look at on the presentation today is I'm going to try to give you an introduction to the foundational marketing concepts essential to effectively understanding the relationship between social media and online book sales. So I think a lot of the more techie tricks or hacks that you might want to know about social media aren't really going to matter until you have ingrained these foundational concepts. So that's what I want to get across to you today. And I also, but at the beginning of this presentation, I want to set this up very clearly. The internet is not a panacea. Okay, just because you set up a Facebook page doesn't mean you're now going to sell thousands of books. I have sold a ton of books in person, hand to hand, one by one, at book conventions, at comic book conventions, at all sorts of different live events. So the internet provides us with some very, very interesting and cost-effective ways of finding readers and selling books, but it's not the only way. Don't forget, there is a real world out there. And if you want to learn more about kind of real world marketing, I highly recommend Jay Conrad Levinson's book, Guerrilla Marketing Weapons, 100 Affordable Marketing Methods for Maximizing Profits from Your Small Business. And this is a book written in 1990. Okay, so it was written right on the verge of the internet, but it wasn't really the internet there. So this book basically covers 100 different ways that you could market your book in the real world. Okay, all these things that we've kind of forgotten about, like, you know, everything from like sending out postcards or putting up posters in bookstores or newspaper ads or all these crazy things that we never really think about, but that could still be a very cost-effective and effective way of marketing your book. Okay. So the rest of this presentation, we are going to look at the internet and at social media in particular, but don't forget about all the real world possibilities that are available out there for you as well. Now, I want to tell you what happened when I published my first book, The Page Turners. So this was several years ago. I put out my first novel, and I sold it to my friends, to my family, to my relatives, to coworkers. It was really, really exciting. It seemed like every single person I knew was excited about my book. I play hockey, and my entire hockey team bought the book. I had guys on it who were saying, you know, Kevin, I've never actually read a novel before, but I'm going to give yours a shot. You know, it was a very exciting time. I was doing interviews. I was getting newspaper articles on me, you know, all these exciting things that happen when you publish and start selling a book. And then after about 2 months, the sales stopped dead. And what happened was everyone I knew had bought the book. All my friends and family and relatives and hockey teammates and everything had bought the book. And so it stopped. And so I thought what happened was you put a book out into the world and it's so good that things start to snowball, right? And somewhere along the way, it picks up momentum and the book starts selling itself. Okay? But the magic snowball didn't happen. And what I quickly realized was, oh my goodness, I need to figure out a way to find people, readers, and get them to purchase my book. And this was a very intimidating thing for me because what it meant was I was going to have to learn business, something I knew absolutely nothing about. I did my undergrad as a double major in film studies and English literature, and I did graduate school in English literature. I spent 6 years of university, reading Shakespeare and analyzing Virginia Woolf. I knew absolutely nothing about business. So that was very scary for me. And on top of that, even worse, what it meant was I was going to have to become a marketer. Bum, bum, bum. Right? Marketer, that evil word. I'm an artist. I write books to create art and to share my message with the world. Oh, just saw Kimberly say, do I have transcripts of my presentations? I don't, but Kimberly, a email will go out tomorrow with the replay. And so you'll be able to rewatch the video and stop and pause and take all the notes that you want tomorrow. I know I do talk a little quickly sometimes. I apologize. I just want to get across as much information as possible, in the time that we're here together. So I think coming from this artistic mindset, marketing can be very scary. I'm going to throw it to you guys right now. Who here is uncomfortable with the idea of marketing yourself or your books? And I know that this is a controversial topic because even in the Facebook ad that I put out advertising this webinar, there was kind of arguments breaking out where people were saying, I wouldn't go on a webinar. They're just going to try to trick you into buying something. And other people are like, well, I'll take what I can get free. All of these things, like people are very uncomfortable with this idea of having to sell things or of being sold to. And, I'm looking over now and I'm seeing, me, Tammy, Maya, Beth, Susie, right? Like everyone, right? We're all uncomfortable with this. And this is because we're artists, right? And Nancy, I love your attitude that you're willing to try. That's great. Okay, and I think the reason we have these fears and worries is because there is this kind of cultural understanding that marketing is sleazy. That marketing is manipulative. That marketing is this selfish act. It's a greedy act. You're trying to take someone's money and get it for yourself. At least these were all the thoughts I had when I went into this idea of having to learn about marketing. And let's face it, no one here on this presentation, I'm fairly confident, wants to become that used car salesman, that snake oil salesman. No one wants to be this guy who we're looking at in the picture here. This is my advice to you guys here. When you're a coach, sometimes you got to really be soft and gentle and support people. Other times you got to kind of push them. And I'm going to push you guys right now. You need to get over it. Okay? Get over all those fears and limiting beliefs you have about marketing yourself and marketing your books. And this is why. If you want to get a publishing deal with an agent and a publisher and a traditional publishing contract, you're going to have to market yourself. What is a query letter? A query letter is a letter of you marketing yourself and your book to an agent who you hope is going to represent you. And if you want to self-publish, if you want to be an indie author, you absolutely must market your book because there's no one else who's going to do it. When you're an indie author, you're in a business that consists of you. And so it's your responsibility to be the marketing agent for yourself. And finally, I think a lot of us, when we publish work, we do it with, dreams of being interviewed, right? Being on TV and in newspapers and getting podcast interviews and this whole thing. And all of those things are marketing. If you're going to sit down with someone and do an interview for your podcast, you are marketing yourself and your book. Okay? So we all have to become marketers. But how do we get comfortable with that? Well, the good news is that the internet has changed everything. You really can't get away with being a snake oil salesman anymore. The idea, that the term snake oil salesman comes from this concept of these traveling salesmen who would come into a town, do an amazing production show, sell a bunch of fake medicine, and then be out of town, and they'd be long gone before anyone noticed that it didn't work, right? But today on the internet, we all have a digital footprint. You can't screw people over as a salesperson and have any sort of long-term career because all they have to do is Google you. For example, on my website, I have a testimonials page, and you can go to a testimonial, look at the person's name, click through to their website, and email that person and say, what was it like working with Kevin, right? We can no longer hide. We're all so transparent on the internet. And another good thing is that production value has been replaced with authenticity. This idea of spending millions of dollars on these Super Bowl ads that are like movies has gone out the window. Today, people are watching 16-year-old girls on YouTube doing makeup tutorials by the millions, right? There's these people on YouTube with massive followings, and they're doing it with a webcam. All right. So this is a really cool thing. We no longer have to be a sleazy or even just fake version of ourselves. And we don't have to have huge production budgets to find an audience and to communicate our message. Okay, so let's talk about branding. Right, here's my brand. For those, some of you know me, some of you don't, but here's generally how I try to present myself as a writing coach. I am someone who takes art very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously. I'm a bit of a goofball. I'm knowledgeable, extremely knowledgeable about topics related to writing and publishing and marketing, but I'm not some guru. I'm not going to claim I know more than anyone or that I'm going to have one solution that's going to fix all of your problems. And I'm high energy. I'm outgoing. Hopefully you find me friendly and approachable. So these are some of the traits I try to communicate in my marketing of my brand. And why do I try to communicate these traits? Because it's me, right? It's the real me. In the modern age of marketing, authenticity is everything. So I'm just going to present the real me to you guys. And some of you are going to resonate with me and my message and how I approach writing and teaching, and some of you aren't. So this idea of that snowball, going back a bit here, this idea that things are just going to take off and that our books are going to start selling themselves, that snowball is a long way off. No one is going to buy your book until they know about it and you give them a reason to care. Okay, so that's something we're going to talk about a lot today in our marketing. It's about giving reason to care, giving people the why behind what you do. Now, on this topic of the snowball, Kevin Kelly, he's a editor of Wired magazine. He wrote an extremely famous article a few years ago called 1000 True Fans. And in that, he argued that 1000 True Fans is the tipping point. So if you guys are looking for that moment, that snowball moment where things are going to take off for you, it's at 1000 True Fans. And 1000 True Fans is a lot of work, guys. It is not easy. All right. Think of every single person in your Gmail account that you've ever emailed. Maybe you've emailed 400 people in there. Okay. If every single one of those 400 people that you've ever emailed have bought your book and absolutely loved and adored it, you're still 600 people short of that breaking point where things are really going to take off for you and you can really have a long-term career as an author. All right. So what we're trying to do with our marketing, we're shooting for that 1000 true fans, and that does not happen overnight. It takes a long time and a lot of hard work. So Simon Sinek has a great book called Start With Why, and he also has a TED presentation where he talks about the same thing. And he has this concept of the golden circle, which is what you're looking at right here. And what he argues is that most businesses know what they do. You know, Ford, we know that we make cars. They know how they do it. Well, we have manufacturing plants that do this and that, and that's how we build the cars. But what most big companies are missing is the why. Why does Ford build cars? Right? That's the question. And I'm bringing it up here in a presentation about social media marketing. You know, you guys might be saying, what does this have to do with social media marketing? Well, what I have found is that what most authors do with their marketing, they do the what, you know, buy my new romance novel. That's the what, a new book in the genre of romance. They say how, order it on Amazon. Here's the link. You can pick it up today. But when we get to the center of the golden circle, the why isn't there. And that is a huge problem. Okay, this is an example that I just randomly pulled from my Twitter feed. I follow many, many authors, especially independent authors on Twitter. 30,000 of them, I think I'm following, all right? And so my Twitter feed is basically nothing but posts like this one. So I'm not in any way picking on this post. I'm just using it as an example of what I see hundreds of times every day. And in fact, I picked this one because it seemed like a book I might be interested in. You know, it's a thriller. It's I kind of like the dark cover. You know, I like kind of gothy stuff. You know, it seemed like something that might interest me, but there's a lot of problems with this tweet, this use of social media marketing. Okay, so let's bring Simon Sinek's golden circle into this and analyze this tweet. Okay, what is this tweet promoting? Okay, a thriller novel, right? We see they have hashtag thriller and the cover kind of suggests it's a dark horror or thriller type thing. Okay, great. I know what this is. How do I buy it? Okay, there's a link to Amazon right there if I want to buy it. Okay, but there's two major problems with this tweet. Okay, one is they never ask me to buy it. Okay, and no one is ever going to make a purchase from you if you don't ask them to buy something. And the other big problem is why? Why should I buy this book? Yeah, I like thrillers. Yeah, I think this cover looks okay. But there's nothing here that's going to ever compel me to make this purchase. There's no why behind it. Okay, so there's a lot of myths when it comes to social media and how we can use it to sell our books. And one of them is that something like likes, follows, hearts, retweets, shares, that they mean anything And they don't. It's nearly meaningless, the number of retweets you got. Okay, these are what we call vanity metrics. So having 600 people like your Facebook page makes you feel good. But this is a business presentation right now, right? I am talking to you in the context of selling books, of generating revenue by selling your writing. And in the world of business, especially online sales, we have a saying: you can't take likes to the bank. Right? When that mortgage bill arrives in the mail, unfortunately, your mortgage company isn't going to take 600 likes in payment, right? We need sales. Another misconception about social media and about marketing in general is it gets you sales, and it doesn't. Okay, guys, I'm going to repeat that. Social media marketing doesn't get you sales. What it gets you is awareness, which is something very different from book sales. Okay. So, what we're going to talk about now in this presentation is how you're going to use the awareness created by social media marketing as part of an overall book marketing strategy or sales funnel. Okay, you might have heard that term in the business world, sales funnel. And what a sales funnel is just a marketing system. It's the ideal path that your intended customer is going to experience as they go from prospect to lead to customer to repeat buyer. Okay. And sales funnels are often visualized in diagrams like this one. Okay. So as you can see here, the funnel starts wide with as many prospects as possible. And then as you work your way down the funnel through multiple touch points, we narrow down until we find our ideal client. So right now here, these are all kind of general business terms, but you can replace these things with, prospects can be fans of the genre you like, and contacts can be fans of the genre you like that you've touched base with on Twitter, down to clients for us is readers, people who buy our books. Okay. And if you would like to see a sales funnel actually demonstrated for you, here's a really easy example, because you guys are in a sales funnel right now. You are living my sales funnel, okay, for this presentation. So I purchased Facebook ads at the top of my funnel. This is how my funnel started, that were shown to 14,700 people. So that many people saw the ad for this webinar. Of that 14,300 people clicked the ad through to the page with the information about the course. So we call that a conversion. Anytime a prospect takes an action that you would like them to take down through your funnel, you call that a conversion. So of the 300 people who went to that page with information about the webinar, 150 people registered. Okay, and so now we can actually look at things like conversion rate optimization. I got a 50% opt-in rate for this webinar. And so, if one way I could improve my business is look at the page and what I might do to that page to get more people to join us on the webinar. Maybe if I had put more testimonials from people who had been on webinars of mine from the past, and it might have inspired more people to sign up. The point just being, when you're working your way through a sales funnel, you can look at different ways to improve conversions. So of the 150 people who attended the presentation, normally about 30% of the people arrive live. And I think if I look over, literally there's 54 people on the presentation right now. So exactly 30%. So that seems to be what I get on my presentations. Of the 150, 50 are here, and probably about another 50 will watch the replay tomorrow. Okay, so you can see we started at 14,000 and we've worked our way all the way down to 100. Now, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to make an offer to you guys. You know, this is a marketing presentation, and I am going to make a marketing pitch to you at the very end of this presentation. And a certain percentage of you are going to be my ideal clients, and you're going to make a purchase and become clients. And that's a sales funnel in action. Okay, so this is us using a sales funnel in the context of my coaching and other products, but we can set up the same sort of sales funnel for your book marketing. Now, why? Why do you need a sales funnel? Why go through all these complicated steps? Well, it's because people buy from who they know, who they like, and who they trust. You know, and trust, well, all of them are important. You know, the awareness at know is starting at the top, but really liking you, and then most important of all, trusting you is huge. Okay, keep those three things in mind when you're trying to sell books. Now, the question is, how do we get people to know, like, and trust us? How can we use social media to get them to know, like, and trust us? All right, well, we're going to do it by developing genuine relationships and providing value. Okay, genuine relationships, actually caring about the people that you interact with and who are potential fans of your work, and providing them with value. Okay, so in other words, when we're doing our marketing, don't be a dick. All right, don't be the sleazy guy that you don't want to be. You don't have to be. And just try to make the world a better place. When you create your content that you're going to use for marketing, try to see that it helps people and does something good in the world. Okay? So focus on providing value to those people who resonate with you and your message. So I think a lot of authors and people in general think this is how social media should be used, that it's some sort of megaphone that you're going to shout through, and the more followers you have, the more people are going to hear you shouting from your microphone. But in reality, effective use of social media is much more like this. It's like being at a party. And you know, when you're at a party, you can either spot people who look like they might be interesting or into the same things as you, and you can approach them and initiate a genuine conversation with them and get to know them. Or you can hear a group of people discussing a topic that you're knowledgeable on or that you can contribute to the conversation, and you join in the conversation. All right, so that's how I would prefer you guys think about social media, not screaming from a microphone, but using it to develop real relationships with real people. Tim Grahl is a book marketing expert, and he has a great definition about book marketing. Tim Grahl says that marketing is two things: creating lasting connections with people through a focus on being relentlessly helpful. Okay, so when you're entering into those conversations in these metaphorical parties, how can you be helpful? What can you contribute to the conversation that helps people? Now, we need to understand that there's different types of marketing. Okay, there's interruption marketing, there's permission marketing, and there's content marketing. And permission marketing and content marketing work very closely hand in hand. But first, let's look at interruption marketing. For a simple example of interruption marketing, you can think about TV commercials. Okay, this is the old-fashioned approach to marketing a product. You get in front of people who are doing something like watching a TV show or reading a magazine, and you try to interrupt their attention and draw that attention to your sales message. Okay, but the problem is we live in a world of information overload. And if you try to market to people through interruption marketing, they are just going to tune out. It just doesn't work anymore. That's not the world we live in today. The internet has changed that. We now live in a world of permission marketing. Okay, this is what we do. This is the new school way of marketing. And this is a term coined by Seth Godin, a very prolific author. And what Seth Godin says is that permission marketing is the opposite of interruption marketing. So instead of interrupting the customer with unrequested information, permission marketing aims to sell goods and services only when the prospect gives consent in advance to receive marketing information. Okay, and that is going to work really closely hand in hand with what we call content marketing. And this is going to be the most pervasive marketing that you see online today. Content marketing is a strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content to attract and retain a clearly defined audience, and ultimately to drive profitable consumer action. All right. And this picture in the background here of the paint and the paintbrushes, I've used it several times in the presentation now. And one of the reasons I have is because this picture is actually an example of content marketing. There's a company called Death to Stock Photo. And how Death to Stock Photo works is you can sign up, and every month they'll send you a bunch of stock photos, absolutely beautiful photos, for free. And this was one of the ones they sent me. So unlike most of the other images in this presentation that I had to purchase, this one was free. So it was very valuable to me. And what Death to Stock Photo's business model is, it's the same model we're going to talk about throughout this presentation, is they give these wonderful photos over a period of time. And then somewhere down the road, they're going to ask me to buy something, maybe a bigger package, or maybe a package of all their best photos or something. And I'm going to buy it because they have built up so much goodwill with me by providing super valuable free content. Now, that's in the context of a stock photo business, right? But let's look at content marketing in the context of being an author and publishing books. Jillian says, does Death to Stock Photo do covers? They just send out a package of photos and they say you can do with them whatever you like. So you might be able to use them for a book cover. You might need to double check, but you probably could. But in the context of being an author, what type of content marketing can we do? What valuable stuff can we put out into the world to strengthen relationship with potential readers? Well, blog posts. This is the most obvious. You are professional writers. That is your expertise. So it makes the most sense that the majority of your content marketing is going to be done via writing, via providing valuable, interesting, entertaining blog posts. Podcasts are another example of content marketing. You know, I host 2 different podcasts, and that's not, I love podcasting, but that's also part of my overall strategy. Okay, Carmen's saying she's having some troubles. No problem, Carmen. Well, I'll make sure you get the replay tomorrow. Email newsletters are huge, okay? We're going to talk a lot more about email newsletters, but that's a form of content marketing, of providing value to your readers. Webinars, right? You guys are experiencing a form of content marketing as we speak. I am doing everything I can to try to give you as much valuable free information as possible in hopes of developing a long-term relationship with you guys. Jennifer, I will answer your question about podcasts later in the presentation because it's not a whole other topic. As you can see by the very slide that we're looking at, all of these things work together. And finally, social media. Some people actually create their content on social media exclusively. Social media being the topic of what we're talking about today. So you can look at someone like Will Smith, at least until recently. If you went to willsmith.com or whatever his website was, all there was like a picture of him and a link to his Facebook page. So his Facebook page was his main area of social content. Free ebooks, absolutely, Anthony. That's a great example of content marketing, and we're going to talk more about that shortly. But there's a problem to going that Will Smith route of hosting all of your content on a social media site, like, say, Facebook. This idea of people saying, I don't need a blog, I can just write blogs on Facebook. Well, that's a very dangerous approach because things happen, like you can be banned. You might break some terms and conditions of whatever social media platform you're using and be booted from it. And suddenly you can't talk to your audience. There might be changes in policy. Maybe tomorrow Twitter decides they don't want people talking about books anymore. They only want people talking about news. That could happen. Twitter has the prerogative to change their policies however and whenever they like. And the most obvious example of this happening, Jody, I just saw Jody say she's having trouble with the webinar stopping randomly. If you guys do experience any troubles, try just logging out and loading back in. Jennifer's been in Facebook timeout. Exactly. So the pain, right? And the most maybe important example is Facebook pages. So you guys might know about Facebook profiles, but Facebook pages are what businesses or authors use to grow and communicate with their audience. And for years, people put a lot of effort into getting folks to like their fan page so that they could communicate with these people via Facebook posts. But what happened was Facebook became a publicly traded company, and they changed their organic algorithm to mean people don't get to see your posts anymore unless you pay to promote them. Okay, so if you are only using Facebook to communicate your content marketing, you're going to be in big trouble because you're going to have to pay to access your audience, and that's not what you want. Okay, so what we want to talk about here is what Anthony said. This is why self-hosted WordPress is important. Owning versus renting. Exactly. As authors, you guys have probably heard the term author platform. And what we mean by that is your website. So social media is a great place to let people know about content that you have created, but I want you to be hosting it on your own website or author platform, as we call it. All right, because that is your home base on the internet, and you don't want Facebook or Instagram or anyone else to cut you off from your access to your audience. Okay, so remember we talked about marketing doesn't get you sales, it gets you attention. All right, so what we want to do is use social media marketing to gain attention and then draw people back to our platform where we can start building trust with them via valuable content that you have posted there. All right. So you might have come into this presentation thinking this is how it was going to work, right? I was going to tell you, do this and this on social media, and suddenly you're going to sell books. But that is not how online sales work, okay? We're going to start to build out now an online sales funnel for the next portion of this presentation. So you're going to create valuable content that helps people, whether it's blog posts or whether it's inspiring images or whether it's podcasts, whatever, and you're going to host it on your own site. But you're going to use social media to let people know about it. So you're going to draw them away from social media. It's not about building a big following on Facebook. It's about getting people off of Facebook to your website that you own, where they can experience the valuable content that you're creating. All right. Now, unfortunately, the next step isn't sales. The next step is email marketing. You might have heard this already, guys, but it's utterly essential that you start building an email list of people interested in your writing. All right. So how do you get people onto your email list? Well, you don't just say, get on my email list for updates. What you want to do is give them an opt-in offer. Okay. So this is an incentive to join your email list. And there's a lot of different terms for what people call this. Like some people call it an ethical bribe. Some people call it a lead magnet. Some people call it an opt-in offer, but essentially it's a free gift, right? Remember what we talked about earlier, this idea of, okay, I'm seeing some questions come up here, guys. I'll tackle them. I'll try to come back to them later. Okay. Don't let me forget. But on the topic of permission marketing, right? What you're asking when someone joins your email list is for permission to develop a relationship with them via email. And so you're offering a gift in exchange for that permission. Okay, that's essentially a conversion, and it's essentially a purchase. People are giving you personal access to their inbox, a sacred place, and to their time. So in exchange, you want to give them something free as a thank you. And remember, that gift is going to provide value. Remember, we're always talking about providing value. And if you want an example of an opt-in gift, when you guys signed up for the webinar, I said that I was going to give you the Novel Writer's Roadmap, a simple guide to writing your first book. And I'll include the link to that in tomorrow's email when I send out the replay of this presentation. But what you're going to see in that is that, it's not a big, long book. It's just a simple little guide that provides people with the major steps, the major milestones they need to take in the writing of a book. Just a little piece of helpful information as a thank you for people getting on my email list. All right. So once people have opted into our email list, we're not going to ask them to buy our book yet. We're going to provide more value via follow-up emails. We're going to keep being cool and giving them good, free, helpful stuff and information. And why are we doing this? Well, let's go back, right? Who do people buy from? They buy from who they know, who they like, and who they trust. And especially trust, it takes time. It takes time to develop a relationship of trust with someone, especially via something as impersonal as an email. This is one of the reasons I love doing webinars, is because I feel like I can develop a relationship with people a lot quicker and in a lot genuine way than I do just through the emails that I send them. But it takes time. So you're going to send multiple emails that give your readers tons of value, and then that's finally going to lead to asking for a sale. Okay? So this is what our sales funnel is starting to look like. So remember this example here, right? Going back to what we were talking about. Here's a thriller. Here's where you can buy it. Right? They don't even ask us to buy it, but the implication is that they want us to buy it. So they think we're going to see this on social media, and then we're going to go buy their book. It would be wonderful if life was that simple for us authors. It's tough enough. We have to write these massive books. I wish it was this easy that you could just post something on social media and have people buy. Unfortunately, there are a lot of missing steps in between that post and an actual book sale, right? All these things that we've talked about today. This is the funnel that you need to build out if you want to sell lots of books, but also build an audience of people who won't just buy one book, but who will be there ready to purchase when your next book comes out. You know, you guys are on this presentation. I assume you want a career, and a career as an author, it cannot function on one book alone, right? You guys are going to be selling multiple books. And that's one of the reasons why having an email list of people who know, like, and trust you is so valuable. All right. So as we near this latter portion of the presentation, I really hope that what you guys have taken away so far here is a new way of thinking about sales and marketing. You know, all that uncomfortable, icky feeling that you may have felt at the beginning of the presentation, I really hope that that's gone out the window. All right, and this is something from a book called Book Yourself Solid, which is an incredible book. Yeah, the subtitle, I think, is Marketing for People Who Don't Like Marketing or something. I highly recommend everyone check it out. My personal business coach is a Book Yourself certified teacher, and what he teaches has changed my life. And a lot of what we've talked about today here is in the spirit of Book Yourself Solid. And this is what the author Michael Port has to say about sales, okay? Sales is all about building relationships with potential clients based on trust. It is quite simply about having a sincere conversation that allows you to let your potential clients know what you can do to help them. You aren't manipulating or coercing people into buying something they have no real need for or desire to buy. You're making them aware of something you have to offer that they already need, want, or desire. Okay, which I think is a really lovely way of looking at marketing, and certainly turned a switch in my mind in terms of making me unafraid to offer things to people that I think is going to help them. So I hope you guys have enjoyed what we've covered here today, and that you've had some, revelations in terms of how you need to approach your social media marketing. But that said, this has been a very broad overview, as you know, right? This is, I called it an introduction to social media marketing. We've barely scratched the surface of this topic. Okay, so I want to put into play here another example of what we've talked about today. I would like to ask your permission to tell you about an opportunity to learn more on this topic. All right, so let me know in the chat box if you would like to hear more. I'm going to take a sip of my water here while you guys let me know whether I have the permission to tell you about something that I think you might find helpful. All right, guys. So, all right, Tammy saying sure, Nikki's saying do tell, question mark. Cool. Absolutely. Do tell. Helpful is good. Sure. Okay, great. All right, cool, guys. So I'm going to go ahead now with a sales pitch. All right. And for those of you who don't think you'd like to hear it or who aren't interested, I was going to say switch off, but as Juanel pointed out, you may want to hang in just to see the beard. All right. So I do want to tell you about a brand new course that I'm launching called Advanced Social Media Marketing for Authors. Now, this thing is huge. I'm so excited about it. It's going to be an 8-week in-depth dive into creating and implementing your social media sales funnel so that you can build your audience and sell more books, right? What we all want. Now, most of the authors that I know and work with, their book marketing plan looks something like this. Right? They're not really sure. They're going to put their book out in the world and kind of hope for the best. So what I want to do with this course is take your book marketing, sorry guys, book marketing strategy from this to this. Okay, this is what I call my advanced book marketing funnel. And this is what I would love to help build out with you guys over 8 weeks. So like I said, right, this is a complex topic, but we are going to dive deep into it and we're going to get this set up for you. All right. So what advanced social media marketing for authors involves is 8 weeks of training videos. All right. So, do I have bad sound? Maya's saying I have bad sound. Am I sounding bad to anyone else? Okay. I don't see anyone else saying sound problems. So, okay. Now, okay, cool. So let me know if we do have any troubles. Great. So what this course involves is 8 weeks of training video. So each week, for 8 weeks, you'll get access to a new training video outlining in depth a specific portion of your sales funnel. And in addition to the training videos, we're going to have 8 weeks of live Q&A sessions. So each week we'll gather for a live webinar like we're doing right now, where you'll be able to ask specific questions related to that week's training video. Okay, so on Monday, you'll get the videos, you'll have the week to check them out, and then probably on Friday, we'll hop on a webinar and we'll do a Q&A session. So you'll get coaching on that week's topic. You're also going to get access to templates and additional resources. And I'm going to bring in some guest presenters. I know a lot of subject matter experts on various aspects of networking and marketing and book publishing and all of that. And I'm going to get them in the course to help us out. And then finally, 1 month after the course ends, I'm going to meet with you one-on-one for a personalized coaching session where we'll ensure that your funnel is in place. Okay, so I don't want you to spend 8 weeks on this course and then not have the funnel in place. So we're gonna meet a month after that and go over any challenges that you're having, or just, hopefully high five each other and say that things are kicking butt and that you're selling lots of books. Okay, so this is how the 8 weeks breaks down. Okay, week 1, the social media big guns. All right, we're going to do Facebook, we're going to do Twitter, we're going to do Instagram and Pinterest and all the others, and we're going to look at how you can use them to grow your following and attract readers back to your author platform like we talked about in the presentation today. Now, the thing is, each of these platforms have their own etiquette. They have their own internal languages that we want to use. So we're going to really look in depth at each of those at a level I never could have done in, a 1 hour webinar like this. So we're going to go in depth into Facebook, into Twitter, into all of them. All right. Week 2, we're sticking with social media, but we're going to look at some of the other platforms. How can YouTube, how can iTunes, how can Periscope and other social platforms be used by authors? And we'll also start to look at social media automation. Okay, in what way can you automate a lot of your social media interactions so that it's not eating up all of your time? Because what we really want is you guys working on your novel as much as possible, not spending all your time marketing it. Week 3, we're still with social media, but now we're going to look at relationships. And I didn't touch on this barely at all in this presentation today, but it is huge. Okay, you'll learn how to use social media to forge and strengthen relationships, as well as reach out to influencers in your niche. And that influencer outreach is essential. It is extremely difficult to build an audience from scratch, and it's a lot easier to have an influencer introduce you to their existing audience. And social media is fantastic for that. In week 4, We're going to look at your author platform, okay, your website. So you're going to discover how to create that author platform, including tools. If you're not techie, we'll look at, where you should be hosting it and whether you should be using Squarespace or WordPress or Weebly. And we're going to look at what information you absolutely must have on your website. Okay, if you're going to sell books, develop relationships, there's certain things that you have to have on that website. So we're going to look at those. In week 5, we're going to look at the perfect opt-in gift. Remember, it's really important to get people onto your email list. So we're going to look at how you can create an opt-in gift that will have potential fans flocking to your email list. And we're also going to look at opt-in tools. This is something we didn't touch on at all today, but it's very important. Things like squeeze pages, hello bars, the dreaded pop-ups, all of these resources that you can potentially use to invite people onto your email list and start developing a relationship with them. And then in week 6, we're going to look at email marketing. Okay. So once you have people on this list, what are you going to say to them, right? We're going to explore how to develop and strengthen relationships via emails that deliver valuable content and build trust. I know I'm harping on it a lot, guys, but this is what it's all about, right? Being cool, caring about people, and giving them good stuff. In week 7, we're going to look at direct sales. Now, most people assume they're going to sell their books via Amazon, but you're going to discover how authors have generated thousands of dollars in revenue by selling books directly from their own website. Okay, so there's a lot of benefits to not using Amazon, but to selling directly to your audience. And we're going to explore what those are here. In week 8, we're going to look at Amazon optimization. All right, the big boy, Amazon. We're going to start the course with the big boys, Facebook, and end it with the big boys, Amazon. Okay, and we'll do an in-depth exploration of how to utilize Amazon's algorithms and optimize your Amazon sales page to maximize your conversion rate. Remember, we talked about the importance of conversion rates. When people land on that sales page of yours on Amazon, you want them to have the information and the motivation necessary to make that purchase. So that's what we're going to look at in that final week. Okay, so in terms of the advanced book marketing funnel, this is how it breaks down week by week. Okay, so weeks 1 to 3 are the blue stuff, right? Social media. How can we use social media to develop relationships and draw people back to our platform? 3 weeks of that. In week 4, we're going to look at just your website, your author platform. What do you need to do to set it up? And what do you need to do to optimize it if it's already there? In week 5, we look at the opt-in gift. What are you going to create to give to people who opt into your list? And what tools are you going to use to make that offer? Are you going to use pop-up ads or hello bars or squeeze pages or simply ask them at the bottom of blog posts? There's a lot of different ways to invite people onto that email list. We're then going to look at how you set up an email service provider. Should you be using Aweber? Should you be using Constant Client Contact? Should you be using MailChimp, right? Lots of different ones to choose from. And then we're going to look at what you should be saying in each of those emails, how you're going to provide value that's eventually going to lead up to a sales pitch where you're going to ask them to buy your book. Week 7, we're going to look at that alternate route, not Amazon, but selling directly on your own website. And we'll look at things like optimizing a checkout page, writing a sales page, as well as the unique opportunity that direct sales offers, which is upsells, something you can't do through Amazon. All right. And also how to funnel people back into your email cycle so that you can continue to provide value after the purchase so that they'll buy your next book. And then finally, in week 8, it's the Amazon week, right? That's where we look at Amazon optimization, what you can do to optimize conversion rates on Amazon. But then we're also, if you notice that this arrow right here, Amazon can actually be an opportunity away from social media to drive people to your author platform, opt-in gift, and get them onto your email list to purchase other books. All right. So this is a whole other aspect of the cycle, another entry point that we're going to look at in the course. And so the course begins in about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. The first day the videos will go out is February 15th, the Monday, and it runs for 8 weeks until March 4th. And then 1 month later, so early April, you'll schedule a one-on-one coaching session with me, right? Now meet with you for we'll ensure that your funnel is in place. All right, so we're looking at an 8-week in-depth dive into creating and implementing your social media sales funnel via video training, via templates and resources, expert guests, weekly live Q&A sessions, as well as personalized one-on-one coaching follow-up. It's the biggest thing I've ever put together. I'm really excited about it. And you guys, if you've seen big, 2-month-long courses like this before on the internet, you probably know that they go for $1,000 to $2,000 for the entire course. But I want to make the offer to you guys today to get involved in advanced social media marketing for authors for either 3 payments of just $247, so $247 a month for 3 months, or a one-time payment of $597. That's it. Okay. So if you want to take your book marketing strategy from this to this, hopefully you find that worth $600. All right. And if you do, I invite you to join me on this course that I'm so excited about. And so that I put a bit.ly link there that will take you to the checkout page for the course. I'll also put it right there. I just put it into the chat room. So you can click that link and it will take you through to the sales page where you'll have the option. You can choose the cheaper option, the one-time payment, or if you would rather do the smaller payments over 3 months, you'll have that option as well. And you can just pick the toggle there and do that. All right, guys. So I'm so excited about this course. It's the biggest thing I've done. I can't wait to get you guys in there, to get working with you and to help you guys sell books. Because at the end of the day, this was a very long presentation about business and about marketing. But at the end of the day, my passion is literature. I believe that literature and art can change the world. And I think getting art into more people's hands is extremely important. When would it be too late to sign up and pay? Great offer. Yeah, thanks. You've been great. No, totally understood, CJ. Carlene, I am trying to make this a special offer for the folks on the webinar. So the $597, that is going to be available for probably at least the next week or so. It depends how many people we get on today and whether or not I'll do another webinar or not. But essentially, it will likely go up in the last few days before the course starts. So you have at least a week or a week and a half for sure to get in at the $597 rate. And if you're waiting for a paycheck to come in or something like that, shoot me an email and we can always work something out. Yeah, Crystal saying rent's due on the 1st. Yeah, totally understood. If you guys have money coming in later or something you want to discuss, shoot me an email and we will talk about it. Okay, so Karen says, is there any hope? Well, here, guys, I promised you, right? So there's that bit.ly link again, so you guys can get in there and hop in on the course. But I am going to, as promised, hop on camera to answer some questions for you guys. All right. All right. So I'm going to hit save on my presentation here. And I'm going to, let's see, hop on camera. There, da-da! So there we go, guys. 5 weeks of beard growth. I feel it's pretty good. The gray is a little troubling. The gray seems to be growing and spreading throughout here. Little troubling, but you know what? I'll live with it. I hope it makes me look distinguished and knowledgeable, hopefully. So Karen said, is there any hope in marketing when one is a shut-in, disabled, and cannot get out to promote the book? And absolutely, like I said, there's a lot of great opportunities to get out there and sell books hand-to-hand, person-to-person. But everything we've covered today is about online sales. You can do it from your home as long as you have a computer and a couple of tools. You're going to be able to do this, right? So, the essential tools that you need are a computer and internet access, an email service provider. So we're going to talk about that. You can't use Gmail or Hotmail or anything like that to send out mass emails. They'll be marked as spam, but you can use these email service provider companies. They're specifically made to do that. So, there's a cost there, and you want to own your own website, like I talked about. So there'll be a little bit of hosting fee costs. But I mean, if you have a computer and a website and an email service provider, you can do virtually everything we talked about today in terms of building out a sales funnel that grows an audience and sells books. Karen says my beard is great and she's thinking about when to start doing this stuff. I think someone else asked that as well earlier. When is the right time to start thinking about marketing? And I would actually argue, I said this in an email I sent out to my list today. When you finish the first draft of your manuscript, it's time to start thinking about marketing. I really think you need to focus on writing during that first draft. But after that, it's time to start thinking about marketing, because it takes time, like we've talked about, it takes time to build an audience and it takes time to build trust. So when your book is published, you want that audience already there and to already know and like and trust you. And this is the wonderful thing about being authors. We normally only have, especially if we're novelists, we only have a product to sell once or twice a year, maybe, and it's a really low cost product, right? A book's probably going to cost $20 at the most. And so you're able to spend 6 months, sending out 1 or 2 emails a month with cool stuff for your people. And then finally, let them know, have a big launch when the book comes out and say, hey, it's available now. But I really think the earlier you start thinking about this stuff, the better, as long as you're done your first draft. I have coaching clients who are on the thing right now, and I'm like, guys, finish the first draft, but then you got to start thinking about marketing. It's the worst feeling in the world, is pouring your heart and soul into a book and then publishing it and hearing crickets, right? You don't want to go through that experience like I talked about, right? It doesn't feel too good when your mom and your grandma and your sister buys your book and then no one else does. Right? And then you have to start building your audience at that stage. You don't want that. So start building it now so that when the book comes out, they're there, they know, they like and trust you, and they're ready to buy your book. Thanks, it's Karen. Thanks, email service providers like MailChimp. Yep, Jennifer, exactly. MailChimp is one for sure. Thanks for all the helpful info. My pleasure. Laura says her homework is finishing her first draft. Good. So Karen Lee says she feels a little dumb about social media, and do you need to get educated first? No, those first 3 weeks of the course are going to be a real in-depth dive into social media, and I'll really walk you through. I'm going to try to find the balance between taking people from square one, but also still being helpful and interesting for people who are already familiar with the platform. But I mean, there are certain standards across the board in terms of what you're trying to do. In terms of getting people back to your website and your email list and stuff. But no, I don't think you need to go study up on social media before coming to this course. It's a social media course. I mean, it's a sales funnel course, but the whole thing starts with social media. So we're going to talk a lot about it. And we also have those Q&A sessions. So if there is perhaps something that's too advanced in the videos, in the same week, we'll have a Q&A session where you can ask me for more details if there was something that wasn't covered to the level that you needed it. And the great thing is we can always hop on, do a screen share, and I can actually walk you through things on the internet, right? Perlat says, great webinar, extremely valuable. Well, thank you, Perlat. Let's see who else is in there. They're going by fast. Gotta go. That's my thanks for the webinar. My pleasure, guys. Great beard. Thank you. Always happy to hear that people like my beard. Okay, how would I compare Scrivener to Writeway? So guys, like every single webinar, people ask me about Scrivener versus Microsoft Word versus Writeway Pro or whatever. And, you know, ultimately, guys, whatever you're most comfortable with. And I, you know, I say it again and again, Virginia Woolf wrote Mrs. Dalloway with an ink and pen and paper, right? And so whether you choose Scrivener or whether you just write Microsoft Word or whatever is not going to make a huge difference on your writing. Writing is going to be hard no matter what. And, you know, the great thing about Scrivener is, especially if you're a nonfiction author, it makes it really easy to move chapters around. And it's also great if you're a fiction author for tracking, you know, concepts and ideas and character details. But you can do that in a folder on your desktop as well. You know, I don't have strong feelings. I just want people writing. And if you think like purchasing Scrivener is going to inspire you to write more, then by all means do it. As a writing coach, what I want is people putting words on the page, and I don't care how they do it, Word or Scrivener or otherwise. Great. Michelle says she's learned a lot from me from the past 4 weeks. Kind of sad that it's over. Well, I'm sure I'll do more webinars in the future. And, you know, what we talked about today is all about developing relationships, right? So shoot me an email. Want to touch base anytime. All right, and then we've got some conversations going on about, you know, Mac, Scrivener on Mac, freelancing, better for Word. So anyway, you know, you guys can geek out on that all you want. That's great. For me, my concern, even as someone teaching you guys social media right now, my concern is that any of the technology side gets in the way of your writing. You know, I want you guys to set up a sales funnel that's automated and that works as quickly and as simply as possible with the least amount of your time involved on it on a daily basis. It's going to take time to set up. Like anything, it takes hard work. But what I really want you guys doing as authors is writing your books. And selling books and making money allows you to write more books. So everything we've talked about here and that we're going to go into in depth in the course is essential, but don't ever let the technology distract you or slow you down. Your number one focus is always writing your stories, writing your book, getting your words out into the world. That's what it's all about, and that's what matters. So Jillian says, Kevin, are you self-publishing or traditional? I am self-published. All of my books are independently published. I have more and more clients, though, who want to go the traditional route. And so my current work in progress, I'm thinking I actually might query some agents on it just to get that experience so that I can better coach people on it, having gone through it myself. That said, I don't really have any desire to go the traditional publishing route. There's very, very, very few benefits these days to going that route at all. And the only reason I'm really considering it is for my coaching business, not for my career as an author. Oh, William Ware saying why, how, and what has been the most informative piece of information tonight. That's straight out of Simon Sinek, right? Start with why. It's a great book and a great TED Talk. You can go watch it on YouTube right now. It's brilliant. So if you enjoyed that, I'm so glad you did. And go check out Simon Sinek because it's really cool stuff. Maya, pros and cons to self-publishing. Okay, so the cons to self-publishing are it's all you. Everything is you. And you're paying for everything up front, right? So you're paying for the cover designer, you're paying for the editor, you're paying for everything. As opposed to getting a traditional publishing deal, you're going to get an advance on royalties. Probably not very much, probably a couple $1,000s, but it's money coming to you rather than you having to take the risk of investing money to hire editors and produce books and all of that. So that's a real benefit to being traditionally published. The other benefit to being traditionally published is you do have some help along the way. Being a self-published author is a lot of work, right? Like, look at that sales funnel that I'm talking about putting together, guys. Like, that's not an easy thing. It's a complex thing. It's why we're going to take 8 weeks to lay it out for you guys. But I mean, someone like myself, I want that control. I want to be able to choose my cover designer and the cover that I go with. I want to be able to choose my publishing schedule. One of the big drawbacks of traditional publishing is it takes forever. It's like any big organization. There's always delays and inefficiencies, whereas a self-published author can be nimble, can be flexible, can go with their gut or whatever. So I mean, pros and cons to both. And everyone, some things are right for some people and some are right for others. And Jillian says a lot of traditionally published authors are now going self-published. Yeah, exactly. And it really all depends on you and your situation and what your business savvy. The reality is, if you want to be a self-published author and make a career of it, you need to learn all of that stuff that we talked about on the presentation today. And for some people like me, I'm a novelist. There's my book on the wall back there or whatever, right? Like, I'm an artist, but I'm also willing to learn this business stuff and interested in it, but not everybody is. So if you have no interest in learning business, self-publishing is probably not going to be for you, or you need to be prepared to at least not be successful as a self-published author. Any other questions in there? Thanks. In fact, thanks for the awesome info, says Jody. My pleasure. Okay, great question. Okay, Maya is asking, give an example of why for fiction, right? Excellent. Okay. I grew up in a small town. I hated it. I felt bullied and alone, and I escaped from that via literature, via books and comic books and cinema. I've struggled with depression. I had hard times, and what really got me through my teenage years was fiction, was adventure stories, was art. And so my book, The Page Turners, The Page Turners is a book about small town kids being bullied and their relationship with fiction. And the reason I wrote this novel is so that kids out there who feel alone or who feel bullied, who are in some country environment, but they don't feel like they're a country person. They feel like they belong in the city and that they have bigger hopes. I wrote this novel so that those people know that they're not alone, and so that they can escape from the troubles or the depression in their lives. You know, my book tackles bullying, but it also tackles marriage breakdown, which I've been through. My parents are divorced. It tackles alcoholism, all sorts of different topics, all the crap that teenagers have to go through. I put in this book so that kids out there who live a life similar to the life I lived don't feel alone, and that they have something to look forward to and to help them through their hard times. So that's my why. That's why I wrote The Page Turners. So that's an example, right, of why I wrote that book and why people might be interested in it. So you guys as fiction authors, you know, why did you write your book? This is actually an exercise I just went through with Laura, who's on the presentation. You know, we sat down and we said, why is she writing this book? And, you know, she came up with a very succinct response, you know, somewhat similar to mine. You know, I think we all kind of draw on the traumas of our past and also on the things that make life worth living. Like there's a famous quote from Kurt Vonnegut where he says, you know, the role of art is to make life seem worth living, at least for a little while. And then he says, he continues, when people ask me who's successful at that, he says the Beatles, right? And it's a really interesting example of, you know, art matters because it makes life worth living. And that's why, you know, it's funny, we're on a marketing presentation all about business, but books is a terrible business to be in. You know, it's the very rare people who get rich selling books. Like there's a joke. They say the very best thing you can do for your career as an author is marry somebody with a pension. Right? But we don't do it for the money, right? We do it for the art and because we're writers and because we can't do it. And so this whole marketing side of things is, the reality is we have to pay our bills, we have to feed our families, and we can't write books if we don't have money to do those things, right? So sell your books, get them out there, change people's lives, make the world a better place, and make money so you can take care of your family, right? So it's you know, it's a complex thing, this, you know, being an artist and a writer and then having to face the business side of it. But I mean, that's what this presentation was all about today. And I really hope that you guys leave it feeling more comfortable about business, more comfortable about marketing, and willing to really do what it takes to develop relationships, be cool, don't be a dick, and then have the guts to ask people to buy your book when the time is right. You know, when you've earned that permission to make the ask and make a sales pitch. So maybe on that note, it's getting late. It's 10:30. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. For those of you who have already signed up for the course, I can't wait to be working with you guys. It's going to be a huge, exciting thing, and I'm really stoked about it, and I hope you are as well. And Nikki says, thanks for taking the boogeyman out of marketing. You've inspired me. I'll be signing up soon. That's fantastic. I can't wait to work with you, Nikki, and to everyone else. So have a great evening, guys, and I will see you again soon. This ends 5 weeks of webinars. For those of you who have been on all of them or some of them, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one, guys. And for the rest of you, I'll see you inside the course. Have a great night.